Joining us now is Jennifer Olize with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jennifer.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Good morning, Vimbai. And good morning,
like business.
Yes,
Morning,
suited up. Yes, I missed this yesterday, so I must greet you specially. So let's begin with what's trending by celebrating the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who marked a significant milestone on Thursday as she celebrated her 70th birthday. In a rare personal post on X, Okonjo-Iweala expressed her gratitude and joy, describing it as one of the happiest days of her life. President Bola Tinubu joined in the celebration, praising Okonjo-Iweala as a worthy ambassador of Nigeria. Tinubu commended her as an exemplary representation of the Nigerian spirit, embodying grit, diligence, and brilliance. Congratulations to Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. 70 is a big number, and we wish you all the best. What do you think about this situation?
You know, we continue to celebrate her as we do with all of our iconic leaders and those who continue to do us proud, role models, you know, in professional life, in private life as well. And of course, her iconic style that has made young African women aspire to go out into the world and be proud African women, wear our traditional, you know, our headscarves and our ankara with pride. So I absolutely love her fashion statement. That's what I'll celebrate this part of the show.
I love her fashion statement.
Well, I mean, we discussed that during
earlier,
the headline,
yes.
So I mean, to be at the risk of repeating myself, I think.
Okay, so let's take another story. Yes. So human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has stated during a live television interview that both federal and state governments can pay the national minimum wage if they recover looted monies. This comes as the organized labor and the government have yet to agree on a new minimum wage, with labor reducing its demand to 250,000 naira and the government increasing its offer to 62,000 naira. Falana urged that the government should show political will to pay for the minimum wage, stating that the funds are available. Now, the proposed minimum wage may be delayed until July 2nd due to the National Assembly's holiday. Now, so Dr. Bati, what do you feel?
Number one, Femi Falana SAN is a counsel to the Nigerian Labour Congress. But beyond that, beyond his responsibilities as a lawyer, as counsel, you know, he's also an activist, you know, of many years of experience, even since his days as a university students leader. And beyond all of that, he has been very consistent in drawing attention to the major issues of the day, whether it's about good governance or leadership or omissions on the part of government. So, and this is, you know, Femi Falana SAN, you know, standing up for the underprivileged, for the oppressed, for the voiceless. And to say that, look, part of the problem we have in Nigeria with governance is that corruption, what's called grand corruption, is part of the problem. And that indeed, if government were to recover looted funds from the national patrimony, that would be even more than enough to pay, you know, the workers what they are asking for. In other words, he's drawing attention to the same thing again, that there is a gap between the governance system and the expectations of the people and the realities that they have to deal with. You know, some economists who did calculations said, in fact, what has been stolen from Nigeria since independence till today runs into trillions of naira. And people say, well, that tradition has continued. So that's where Femi Falana SAN, I guess, is coming from. Labour has also said, well, it's 250,000 naira that they are insisting upon, and that they are not asking for a marginal increase of 60,000 to 62,000 naira. Now, all of this should be of concern to all of us. Yes, National Assembly will be on a holiday, but organized labor had also said they were going to hold a meeting. Okay. And the president has said, well, he's committed to serving the interest of organized labor. After all, he once promised them living wage. But what that living wage will be, as promised by the president, remains to be seen. The caveat to Mr. Femi Falana's point, however, is that Nigerians are very skeptical. All the loot that have been recovered in the past, what do we do with them? So, I mean, people will say, well, even if you recover the loot, what is the guarantee that the recovered loot will be used to serve the interests of Nigerian workers? When indeed, well, maybe I should not go that far, because the people who are supposed to recover loot, they themselves, have been part of the making and unmaking of Nigeria since independence.
I mean, the sad reality is this. In a country where we don't have accountability, paying minimum wage will be harder than jam question. Truth has to be said. There is no big deal about paying this minimum wage if we run government efficiently.
Correct.
In the same country, the governor of Niger State, his deputy, speaker, they all went for Hajj at whose expense? In the same country, we see leaders flying private jets everywhere. In the same country, we saw 21 billion earmarked or being spent on a vice presidential residence. I keep asking, Dr. Bati, you are a villa man. Was not a place that Namadi Sambo stayed before now? Is there not a place for the vice president? Why build 21 billion at a time that we are suffering? In the same country, some parts of the National Assembly were saying that, the presidential fleet is not working well, but they are talking of potential of getting a new one. We're talking about yacht last year.
Well, the safety of the president is very important.
Okay.
So we need a serviceable
okay.
aircraft in the presidential fleet.
We need a serviceable aircraft.
Not aircraft that will be dropping from the sky. I think the safety of the commander-in-chief is important.
And the one that we bought before, that we serviced before, all of a sudden we have a need to buy a new one. So is it a must that we must now use taxpayers' money that's not even available to now buy a new one? When are they going to make sacrifice? Do presidents of other countries not fight commercial? I mean, let's ask ourselves this question now. Can we afford a presidential fleet at a time when things are dire? But they want all the luxuries of office. All of a sudden, the same plane that the son of the president was caught using last year is the one that's not bad. And look at all these people. Before they became leaders, they had their own private jets. But now it's the states that must pay for everything. That's why we can't pay minimum wage. At the same time, you have massive corruption. That's why when you even look at it, the 2-point-something billion World Bank lent us, we're supposed to do something good. But when you investigate the money, how are we going to spend it? So these are the other factors. These are the likes of the things Falana is saying. Now, if you shun corruption, recover almost all the looted money and all of that, things will work well in this country. We keep asking ourselves questions we cannot answer. Why all of this excess spending? In the same country, we use 90 billion for Hajj. I even hear that money was more than 90 billion because 90 billion was what the government put down because of the currency fluctuation. What the state spent cumulatively was going to hundreds of billions because each state had the amounts they spent to support the people doing all of this. So we are subsidizing religion, and when we're supposed to pay the workers now, we can't pay them. We start to give excuses here and there. So we are not ready. We are not ready. And for those that are saying I know the safety of the president matters. So is this time we want to now buy another private jet? President, stop traveling if you can't afford private jet now.
So in the meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians that he will approve the new minimum wage that is within the government's means. Tinubu stated during a dinner in Abuja on Wednesday to celebrate 25 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. Let's take a look at what the president has to say.
A notice from me if I've changed my mind on minimum wages. He's looking at me with one kind high. Nothing but about minimum wages. We're going to do it what Nigeria can afford, what you can afford, what I can afford. They ask you to cut your coat according to your size. If you have size at all.
So, yeah, a continuation of the minimum wage conversation. You know, there's something that I just wanted to highlight, going back to labor, because we also want them to walk the talk. You know, labor recently attended the ILO conference in Switzerland, and I just read a report recently saying that Nigeria's delegation to that conference was the biggest. Okay. Nigeria took 289 people to the ILO conference. And you look at the situation and say, labor are supposed to be in the role of activists. They're clamoring for government to spend less. They're clamoring for minimum wage, that the money should come from, that government should cut their expenses, cut their costs. In the meantime, are also agreeing to be part of a massive mega delegation, 289 people.
That's a lot.
That was the biggest, and this is a repetition of what we've seen in the past with regards to Nigeria now creating this reputation of always having the biggest delegations at these international gatherings and engagements. So that's concerning. So I think it's also very important for labor to walk the talk and not to just expect, to call out, to hold government accountable without themselves also, behaving in a way that that is reminiscent of what they are trying to advocate for.
That's very cool.
Except to say that many of those people that went to the ILO conference, I think, which is ending today, some of them are from the States. So, if you check the titles, I think the cable newspaper has a full list. Now, the way they have prepared the list, they say the minister, Nkuruka Onyeji-Ocha, led the government delegation. Then they said she's accompanied by 2 persons. But when you check the list, there are many people from NECA, from Ministry of this, Ministry of that, including people from different states. And in fact, we even had a larger delegation than Brazil. Wow. Brazil came second. And, there's going to be, I think, an election of a new executive. Maybe Nigerians decided to go there en masse so that maybe some of our people are interested in some of the positions. But I get your point that, labor too should walk the talk. Yeah. That's the big takeaway.
It's very sad. News from July 2nd at least on this minimum wage issue. So let's move on to our next story. Moving on to Senegal. In the same vein, Senegal's newly formed government unveiled a series of measures on Thursday aimed at reducing the prices of essential commodities, including rice, oil, and bread. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who took office following a decisive victory in March elections, had pledged to tackle the issue of high living costs, which have been worsened by high unemployment and inflation. The West African nation, which relies heavily on imports, has seen sharp rise in the prices of basic items, putting pressure on households across the country. The new measure comes amid increasing public outcry and extensive media coverage. Well, this is very similar to what's happening here in Nigeria right now with the high cost of living, food increasing every day, rice, oil, bread, the same thing. So it's good that the Senegal president is addressing it. Hopefully, our Nigerian president can help in that situation.
I don't recommend it for Nigeria because I don't think it's sound economics in the Nigerian context. Many Nigerians will remember Esenko, Essential Commodities Policy, in 1984 under General Buhari. He was military head of state then. Now, the economists advised General Buhari at that time, to reflate the economy, adopt certain measures. He said, no, the way that military administration functioned at that time was to send soldiers to the markets.
Price control.
And they were beating traders up. Government was fixing the prices, and you must sell at the price. Now, this essential commodities policy in Nigeria led to very long queues. At the end of the day, the economy just tanked completely. Even when the Buhari administration said it wanted to correct some of the errors of the Shehu Shagari administration. That was our experience here in Nigeria. And I think that although, President Faye may say he's interested in fulfilling an election promise, I think we should learn from the example of Nigeria. Another thing that the Senegalese should learn from the example of Nigeria, they've become an oil-producing country.
Yeah. Yes.
To be producing 100,000 barrels of crude every day from Petrosen and Woodside, the Australian partner in the equity. Now, let it not be that this policy is being introduced because they are already looking forward to petrodollar. Nigeria mismanaged petrodollar. But I get where the Senegalese president is coming from. There is high cost of living. He had promised to address that, and now they're making it easier for people to buy baguettes, which is now less than $1. Easier for people to buy rice. It's a populist approach, but they have to manage the economics of it and see if they can learn from the mismanagement of essential commodities policy in Nigeria in the 1980s.
Truth has to be said, and I'm very happy Dr. Baji brought forward essential commodity. Truth has to be said. We need to be very careful with all of this populism. You must be able to build the economy in such a way that there's a sustainability path for the way forward. Okay. People are suffering, yes. These were the things that were on ground before it came in the elections. But it does not mean that when you take the drastic steps, you must not have a sunset clause to it. Okay. Because all this reduction in prices, there's somebody that has to pay for it. And nothing is free, even in Freetown. So he needs to be wise about it, making the staples, bread, baguette, oil, oil, and all of that possible. But also what Senegal needs to invest on is a massive agricultural retooling. If you've ever been to Senegal, most of the things in Senegal are imported. They don't grow a lot. Most of the staples are imported. And that's why the direct knock-on price of so there should be a national food approach. Recently, I was watching Senegalese television where they have a farmer's fair and things like that. Yes, they should also use it as a springboard to be able to start growing a lot. Because that's how they can tackle the problems they have in the economy. And the meager, what's it called, GDP that is, okay, it was about 16 billion there about then, but now it's about 20 billion. And also, they should be careful with romance. I've been meaning to say this. Usman Sonko that keeps preaching liberation in one hand. The other day, there was a big fanfare and parade where Jean-Luc Mélenchon, one of the key opposition figures in France, came to Senegal. They had a joint press statement. They went to the university. They talked about imperialism and all of that. Forget it. Jean-Luc Mélenchon still represents the French state, which was a big colonial mindset and outpost against Africa. So in one breath, you're saying you want to flip the currency from the CFA, and whoever is advising him, please, they should not do that. That's going to be a drastic way that's going to tank the economy of Senegal. Another thing they should also be wary of, like Dr. Bati made mention on, is this oil costs. Why do we even call it Dutch disease? I'll tell you a little historical story. The reason why it's called Dutch disease is because the Netherlands in the 50s discovered massive gas deposit in Groningen. And for so many years, because of the massive gas deposit, the Dutch guilder started to fall because of mismanagement of that funds. Hence the name Dutch disease. But guess what? The Netherlands learned from it. And after they learned from it, they've been having massive economic growth year on year. The mentality should always be like the Norwegian model. Norway has Statoil and other big companies, but they started to push all their oil money into a sovereign fund. And we're celebrating Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala Day. That was what she was telling us to do. When we have excess money from crude, push it to a fund for the future.
Yeah, your Nigerian governors said
but the governors stiff it all. Because they don't want to, and now when they finish the money today, what it get around our hungry governors. So that's the model we ought to go. The Norwegian model, because as you see now, the Norwegian Sovereign Investment Fund is one of the biggest in the world. I hear that at the last poll, when you share that money among each Norwegian can get close to $300,000. And we should also be careful about contracts. And I was happy about the point that was made as regards the contract, that the Sonkos are now saying they want to look at the contract again. That was what Magufuli was trying to do all these years too.
Because this contract is signed in such a way they give Africa a short end of the stick. That was what happened in Ghana. And when Ghana was trying to pay off the people to be able to get his fields back, the payment money was so high, that was what increased government costs and spending, and that was what led to the economic quagmire that Ghana had to go to IMF again. So these are the things they should be careful about. These two guys here are young guys. We see them as the future. You know, we see them in the likes of Thomas Noel Shankara of the yesteryears, but they should also be careful, and they should just cool it down.
Yeah, there's definitely a wave of radical economic transformation going on, not just in Africa. Even if you look at European economies at the moment, everybody is turning inwards. There's a huge nationalist sentiment going on, and a shift towards the leftists. People are trying to look after their own. But very valid points have already been made. There's no need for me to repeat it, because the question here is sustainability. Yes, there's probably an element of wanting to make sure that he has assured his political, reconciled his political base and, won over the popularity of the people. I think there's a very big move towards that. However, price controls today, no problem, as long as it's just a quick intervention into a crisis with a plan to move forward. Correct. What is the plan to move forward? That's what we want to see. With regards to cutting ties with the French, and already, the Western nations were already shaken when he came into office because they knew that he was going to be radical, and that's exactly what he's doing. However, we want to see a success story out of this radicalism. I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to show that, okay, he's shifting away from neoliberal economics, but let us see that this breed of neo-socialism that he wants to implement, let us see it working, and let us see it working for the people of Senegal. I think that's the most important thing, along with learning lessons from history, from the ills that we've already seen within the region of some of the actions that he's taking.
Brilliant analysis, Bimbai. So now let's take our final story under entertainment. Grammy Award-winning singer Burna Boy took the streets of Port Harcourt, Rivers State, to share food items to residents on Wednesday. Burna Boy accompanied his mother, Bose Ogulu, personally led the food sharing exercise. The food distribution event saw residents receiving food items such as rice, beans, and cooking oil. Let's take a look. Well, Burna Boy was sharing food in a previous video in Port Harcourt, and I think that's a very good initiative for a lot of Nigerian artists and celebrities to continue to do, to encourage, our youth and the people, despite all the challenges that we're facing.
Yeah. It has to be said, it was not only food he was sharing. He went to the University of Port Harcourt, addressed students. I also heard he went to hospitals, paid hospital bills.
That's very wonderful.
That's very wonderful on him, and God will continue to reward him. Anybody that has the milk of human kindness at a point in time like this, where things are very tough.
Exactly.
You'll be amazed how long what he has done is going to go in helping people.
Correct.
Things are very tough. And you see, our leaders do not even get how dire things are. If only they got how dire things are, they'll not be traveling well. Look at the Niger. We heard there was a mine incident. People are still, they're trying to get people out, and the governor is off for fashion or for religious parade somewhere else. So, you see, and I'm supportive of people that step in where the government is found wanting, because people need to step in one way or the other. But the government needs to do its responsibilities. I keep telling it. The work of 1,000 NGOs also needs to be aided by one local government.
Correct.
And that's why I'm fully in support of even giving powers back to the local government. I just hope they too do not now become thieves to eat the money of the people. But if they can give those powers and those monies back to them, so that the local government can affect the local areas, what they can do. But kudos to Burna Boy, and God bless him, and God bless others. So I hear Davido too does a lot of great things. Whiskey.
Yes,
God
Davido
bless
does
all
a lot
them.
of
It's very good when we do
contributions.
things like that.
Yeah.
For me, just one sentence, which is Ubuntu. The notion of Ubuntu, which is humanity, loving one another. So it doesn't matter, whether you're up there or you're down there. There's just a notion about being your brother or your sister's keeper. And, he's done so well for himself. So to see him, go back to his roots and plow back into his people, absolutely beautiful. It's a great way to start the weekend.
Because we are. Yeah. A sense of community, a sense of philanthropy, of supporting each other. Well, Burna Boy has done very well. But also, we have the example also of Davido, who had this David Adeleke Foundation. And in the past 3 years, he's been, donating money to orphanages. And we hope that Burna Boy will also sustain this and do it regularly. But of course, the more important thing was that it was orderly. We have had other cases in recent times when people were distributing food items or other things to support underprivileged, deprived, dispossessed Nigerians. And it degenerated into people losing their lives in the process. To the extent that this was orderly, I think that, Burna Boy also has to be congratulated. One of the icons. We started this program today by celebrating an icon, Okonjo-Iweala.
Correct.
We are bringing it to a close by celebrating, thanking, congratulating another major Nigerian diamond, who is a great ambassador.
Thank you, Burna Boy, for that good initiative. Well, thank you, Dr. Basi, Vimbai, and Rufai for your wonderful analysis.